How's it going, Giants fans? My name is Alex with my co-host here, Anthony Rivardo, and today we want to discuss the linebacker core. After Blake Martinez was released, it was a mutual thing, apparently. The Giants don't have many options at linebacker. We're looking at Tate Crowder, we're looking at, Wyatt Davis, we're looking at Austin Calitro, and we're looking at Micah McFadden. Darian Beavers, obviously the torn ACL ends his season prematurely. He was expected to be a pretty big part of this defense, and especially if they were contemplating the idea of releasing Martinez to begin with. So losing Beavers is definitely a significant blow. But I think McFadden will play a pretty big role as a rookie, out of Indiana. And then you, of course, have Calitro, who's more of a veteran, spent, I think, 5 seasons in the NFL, but mostly as a backup reserve guy. This was his first opportunity really to shoot for a starting spot. And it seems like the Giants now have a good opportunity to find an underrated player in Calitro. And, 6 foot, 240 pounds, had a really good preseason. We're going to discuss his stats, what he accomplished, what he offers this team, and why he could sneak into the starting rotation there at linebacker and hopefully offer some value as an undrafted free agent back in 2017 from Villanova, originally drafted by the 49ers, spent some time with the Bengals last year. Never really caught on and made an appearance, but it was helping them, I think, on the practice squad at the very least. And he knows what it's like to build a Super Bowl team. He saw it firsthand, and he had some really good quotes that I also read you as well. So I think those are super valuable. But Anthony, before we dive into Calitro, what he brings to this team, how you do today, my friend?
I'm doing great. And I think that Austin Calitro, as you mentioned, he's a guy who's primarily played throughout his career. He's been in the NFL for 4, and this is his 5th year now. He's primarily been a backup. But with the Giants and the lack of depth that they have, the recent cutting of Blake Martinez, everything in between, there's a serious opportunity here for him to see a lot of playing time. I mean, if the Giants have just one more injury at linebacker, Austin Calitro is probably your day one starter, right? So you have to think about that, just how thin the Giants are at that position. But Austin Calitro, not just a camp body. Many of us believed he would be a camp body, gets cut before the start of the regular season. That's not the case. He really impressed during the preseason. He showed up and he played really well in a couple of those preseason games. So he totally earned his spot on the roster. And I am excited to see if he does get any playing time and how he's able to perform during the regular season.
Absolutely. So this is a guy who doesn't really have any regular season experience. This is definitely a shot in the dark for the Giants. But you know what? At this point, I kind of get the sense that the Giants should give him an opportunity to make a name for himself. He has 536 career snaps. So obviously being, I guess a UDFA back in 2017, does not have that much action under his belt. Not really good in coverage, was not historically a good tackler or a run defender. Looking back at his 2 prominent seasons, one with Seattle and one with Jacksonville, he gave up a pretty substantial amount of yards as a second-year player, 287 yards and 2 touchdowns in coverage. So definitely, struggled to a degree then. But for the Giants this preseason, he's been rather adequate. Really good coverage grades across the board. He had 2 interceptions, one of them being a pick 6, and he also recovered a fumble that Micah McFadden actually forced there. So that was pretty good. He allowed 27 yards on 2 targets. Against the Cincinnati Bengals in week 2, but in week 1 reception for 13 yards, and then it had himself a incompletion on 1 target in the final preseason game against the Jets. But otherwise, he looked really good against the Jets' first team defense. So that I think stood out to the Giants. They were like, okay, maybe this is a guy that we could actually roll with, see what he's got. Veteran, knows how to play at the NFL level, has been around for a while, just hasn't really gotten an opportunity since 2019 to feature on as a starting snapper. But I will say that the Giants have a very, weak linebacker core at this point in time. That's the best way to say it. They don't really have that much talent there. Tate Crowder, he's slightly below average player. Maybe he's average at the very best. He's not that athletic. He's an okay tackler. He makes some nice plays every now and then. But otherwise, he's not going to blow you out of the water. We know exactly what Tate Crowder offers us, which is average level linebacker play. And that's really what the Giants have right now. And a lot of unknowns kind of in the mix here as well. So I'll tell you what, it's kind of a situation where the Giants kind of could be looking at the free agent market. They could be looking at the waiver wire for more support there. But right now, I don't know how convinced I am that this is a starting level defense at the linebacker position. What are your thoughts? Calitro definitely offers some value, some reason for excitement just because of his preseason. But right now, I'm very concerned. I really just don't know what to say about the linebacker core. It's rather weak.
I mean, yeah, that's exactly what I said. Like I said, I think Austin Calitro can be some really quality depth. He earned this roster spot. He deserves to be on the Giants 53-man roster right now. But I don't think that he's some phenomenal starting level linebacker that the Giants are being saved by. I think that this is a position that the Giants need to continue to work at, and they need to continue to evaluate all the options to acquire maybe some more talent. I think Austin Calitro does provide really solid depth. He's a veteran. He's been in the NFL for 5 years now, all those sorts of things, right? I think that's what provides a lot of value out of Austin Calitro to the Giants defense. If someone gets injured, Calitro has to step in. He's done that before for teams, so he knows what that really entails. So I think that's the part of Austin Calitro that I really like and the value that I see in him. But outside of that, you're kind of saying, is this a starting level unit of linebackers for an NFL team? Is this a unit to feel comfortable about? Well, no, really, it isn't. I mean, the cutting of Blake Martinez leaves the Giants super, super thin at this position. Now you've got some really unproven players or some just straight career backups like Calitro starting in these positions, right? You've got Tay Crowder, who's been in the NFL. This is going to be his third season, but he was a 7th-round draft pick, the final pick in the draft when he was drafted. And he's had some decent games. He's had some decent moments. He's also had some injuries, and he's also had a lot of really bad moments, right? So that's your starting linebacker for the Giants right now. And then opposite of him is likely to be Micah McFadden, a late-round rookie who the Giants just drafted to fit into a scheme. You have no idea what that's going to look like. You don't know if he's going to be good, if he's going to be terrible. He's a rookie. There's going to be growing pains, so he's going to have bad games. And then everyone behind those two, again, like you mentioned, Austin Calitro and a couple other guys, Cam Brown as well, but Cam Brown's really just going to be playing primarily special teams. So you look at this unit, there is not a lot of depth, there is a lot of uncertainty, and there's basically no proven talents. So is this a starting level or high quality level linebacker room? Personally, no, I don't think it is. Am I hoping to be wrong? Am I hoping that these guys develop and just take over the world? Absolutely. Go Giants. But I don't really see that happening. I think it's going to be a little bit of a struggle for the Giants at the linebacker position. And I think it's a position that they're going to continue to look for upgrades at.
Yeah, I mean, they have to be looking for upgrades at that position, right? I mean, it's at the end of the day, can you really feel comfortable with Tay Crowder, Austin Calitro, and Micah McFadden? And okay, so here's the argument. Like, give the young guys reps, right? Micah McFadden should be starting. Now I know we're talking about Austin Calitro stealing some starting reps right now, and I think he will, just because, there's a lot of unproven kind of material at linebacker. But Micah McFadden, you might as well throw him into the mix, right? Pretty good linebacker when it comes to getting into the backfield, blitzing. We know Wink Martindale and his defense love to blitz, so that's something that I do want to see them exercise. Calitro actually finished the preseason with 4 hurries, 5 total pressures, and he had a quarterback hit. Most of them came in the week 1 game against New England. So that was pretty solid. He actually showed some decent ability to blitz from the middle linebacker spot, which I think is something to be valued. But the question here is, like, how does Wink Martindale want to use these linebackers? Is he trying to use them as blitzers more? Is he going to use the safeties as blitzes more? I think he's going to be very, dynamic in the way he calls these plays. We're going to be seeing so much blitzing from everywhere. Linebackers obviously have to be in the mix. But Micah McFadden's a hand-picked player for Wink Martindale, in my opinion. I think that he wanted him specifically because he's very aggressive, pretty good pursuit. He's powerful. He can get to that into the backfield and make some things happen. And Darian Beavers as well. He actually could transition to outside linebacker and play, in a 2-point stance as well, a 3-point stance. Like, he can do those things. Like, he's very capable in multiple different facets. But him getting injured definitely throws a wrench into their plans at linebacker. Of course, I think they wanted both of them to play. I think they wanted McFadden and Beavers to play substantial snaps this year. If I was to guess, I'd say Crowder and McFadden start the year as the starters. But I think Austin Calitro works his way in as a backup and whatnot. Definitely an interesting situation, but I'm not entirely sure how they will operate, come the regular season, just because, like, it's just such an unproven unit. Like, who starts here? Is Tay Crowder the future? Like, I imagine after this year, they're probably looking to replace him, right? I guess, in your opinion, if you're looking at this group, I know Tay Crowder kind of is the most experienced, so you kind of have to start him, but, like, is Calitro a long-term solution? Probably not. Man, it's tough. I really wish Beaver stayed healthy, man. It really sucks.
Yeah, I mean, injuries have totally killed the Giants in multiple facets of the game, whether you're talking about the wide receiver position, watching Colin Johnson go down with an injury, or if you're talking about Darian Beavers at the linebacker position. There were some young, talented guys that were starting to develop and make names for themselves, and unfortunately, they're not going to be able to realize any of that potential this season due to injuries, which really sucks. I really wish Beavers was able to play, but again, as you mentioned, he's done for the year. So who is going to be the future at the linebacker position? I don't think you're going to get that answer until next offseason, to be completely honest. I think Micah McFadden's going to have a future with this team. He was perfectly handpicked by Wink Martindale to play in his scheme. I think that was a great draft pick, and I think that Micah McFadden's going to provide a lot to the Giants. But is he going to be a day one LB1? No, he could probably be a day one LB2, though, if that, maybe an LB3. But we're going to have to get by with him as a starter. And that's just going to be the reality of the Giants this season. You know, this is the first year of a rebuild with a new head coach and a new GM, a whole new front office, whole new coaching staff. There's going to be growing pains, and the personnel is not going to be exactly what we want it to be. So the Giants, you have to take a look at their linebacker position group right now, say, hey, there are some young guys that hopefully develop over the next few years, but in reality, there is no future at this linebacker position. You know, at the edge rusher position, I feel differently. Kayvon Thibodeau, Azeez Ojulari, we got a future there. Those are young talents that I think are really going to develop into something that we can rely on. Safety as well. I think Julian Love and Xavier McKinney can be a future. But when you take a look at the linebacker position, Micah McFadden and Tay Crowder, I definitely feel a lot less confident in panning out as the future. Again, late round draft pick linebackers. The Giants have gotten by before with late round draft pick linebackers, but the linebacker position has been a weakness for the Giants for years now. Really, it really has been. And Blake Martinez was the only one that turned it into a strength for 1 year. Then he got injured, and now he's gone. So it's kind of like they rebuilt that linebacker position a few years ago, and now they're just back at square one, rebuilding linebacker position. So again, like you said, I don't really see any clear-cut long-term starters at this linebacker position. I'm hoping that Micah McFadden in his rookie season can prove to be one of those players, and maybe Tay Crowder as the LB1 has an emergence, has a breakthrough. I'm not going to count that out. It's always possible. He's gotten a lot more playing time and experience than most seventh-round draft picks at linebacker would at this point in his career. So definitely possible that he continues to shine, continues to break out. Maybe the Wink Martindale scheme is able to get even more out of him. You never know. But right now, I'm not saying that there is any type of future right here at this linebacker position. I think this is something that the Giants are going to have to address next offseason and address it in a very, very important way.
I mean, they have to put some money into it at some point, right? Like Blake Martinez now gone. His contract will be totally gone after this year, I think. They have to put some money into the line. They don't have any money invested there. They have, a seventh round player on his rookie contract, Micah McFadden rookie contract. They got to spend a little bit of money. You can get good linebackers for $6 to $8 million, like starting level linebackers. Blake Martinez, we were paying $10 million, and he didn't really offer much in coverage, but he was a pretty solid tackler, very, very good tackler at the prime of his game, top of his game. I think you could probably go out and get a decent linebacker fit. Maybe you draft one in the second or third round next year. A lot of people were clamoring on about Nakobe Dean, who ends up with the Eagles and has been really good this offseason. So it's like, damn, like maybe we missed an opportunity there. But it is what it is. I hope they kind of address that spot, because linebacker is really important for Wink Martindale's scheme. But I'll tell you what, is there even a guarantee Wink Martindale's the defensive coordinator for the Giants next year? Is he going to take a head coaching job somewhere? And then what happens to the defense? You're looking at a full rebuild of the defense again, like unless they have like some disciple of Wink Martindale that runs the exact same system. Like, I don't really know what they're going to do moving forward. This is a really interesting rebuild. There's a lot of moving pieces, a lot of pieces that are expendable that could leave in the future. But I remain optimistic, my friends. I always do. Giants test me in every which way, but we are still big fans, and we still want the team to be very successful. But I love your perspectives below in the YouTube comments about Austin Calitro. If you think he can be a starting NFL caliber linebacker, if he can contribute, steal some reps this year. But it's going to be interesting to see how they develop this linebacker core and who gets the reps, who gets the snaps. There's no one that really stands out to me as worthy or valuable. They're all kind of like, unproven. We know what Tay Crowder is. He's okay. Nothing special, but hopefully he can prove us all wrong, or at least prove me wrong and have a good year. We'll see what happens. But guys, hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Labor Day tomorrow. Enjoy it. Spend some time with the family, friends. Hope you guys enjoy this episode of Fireside Giants, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.